Before we dive into today's episode, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsor, PensionBee. They're a leading online pension provider, making it easier for people, especially single parents like us, to feel confident about saving for retirement. Along with their easy-to-use app, their podcast can also help you build confidence with your personal finances. The Pension Confident podcast is a monthly show covering pensions, ISAs, mortgages, and more. Listen to the Pension Confident podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can find it on YouTube and in the PensionBee app too. Just remember, as with all investments, your capital is at risk. Thanks again to PensionBee for supporting this episode. Hi, I'm Zoë Desmond, the founder of Frolo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox, that I made through Frolo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Frolo podcast. Today is a special follow-up episode. It's been almost a year since we last sat down with Francesca Amber, and now Francesca's launching her new book, Manifest Like a Mother, which we will dive deep on today, as well as the reality of manifesting when life is messy, about dating again, rebuilding as a single mom, and how manifestation works in real life. Francesca, it's so good to have you back.
Thank you so much. Are you sure it's been a year? I feel like it's been longer than that.
I actually swear to God, I felt like it's been way longer than that. And I had to check, and I double checked, and it was September 2024.
Really? I've lived 5 lifetimes since then.
So have I. I like, unless my calendar is saying something wrong, and I even checked on the Frolo podcast just to double check because I was seriously questioning it myself. So how weird is that? I have also lived 5 lifetimes.
It's like a weird glitch in the Matrix. That I swear that was 5 years ago, but still, we move.
I was almost going, was that in lockdown? We did that. Like, it's bizarre. Yeah, it's really bizarre. I completely think it's a glitch in the timeline system, unless I've got it wrong. But I did check my email and the Frodo podcast. So, well, if it has been 5 lifetimes, then it means that you've got loads to update me on and our listeners about everything that's happened since that last episode. Obviously, you've got a book launching, so we're going to talk about that. But in your world, any bullet point updates or high level updates about what's been going on in the world of Francesca?
Oh my goodness. Well, since we last spoke, still single, still a proud single mum, no dating. I'm not giving any energy to dating. I know this is slightly controversial. Have you heard of Cindy Gallop?
No, I don't think so.
She's this older lady who exclusively fucks 25-year-old boys.
Right.
And she lives for it. And she's like, if women spent more, like all the energy that they spend on trying to find a partner, if they spent that on themselves, their businesses, their families, their own happiness, she's like, women would be so much further ahead. Anyway, I'm very balls deep into her teachings. I'm very much, do you know what? Being a single mum is hard, but I really am enjoying it. I'm loving it, and I'm loving being single. And yes, it's hard, but I'm here for it. So there's no change there, but just a lot of progression on where I'm going with my career, writing the book. That's almost like having a 4th baby.
Yeah, it is like having a 4th baby for sure. So yeah, how did let's get into the book. How did that come about? How long has it been in motion?
So I don't want to brag, but I have had publishers like banging on my door, basically saying like, do you want to write a book? Including, I think, one of the best publishers in the world, Penguin. And I was like, oh my God, of course I would love to write a book with Penguin. But they wanted me to write, because of course, sales, they wanted me to write a book about manifesting. And I was like, number one, it's been done 500 times. nobody wants to read that shit anymore. Like everyone's read every single take on manifesting. Like no one wants to read that. And so I said to them, do you know what I'm really passionate about? And do you know what I really want to do? And I know you're going to say no. And initially they did say no. And it was only somebody that kind of brought me back. As I was like, I want to write a book about manifesting specifically for mothers. And of course, they said all the usual stuff. It's too niche. You're cutting out men. You're cutting out women who don't have children. You're cutting out women whose children are grown up. You're cutting out so many people. So of course, when I said, well, really, I wanted it to be for single mothers. And I really wanted to get a chapter in there exclusively for single mothers. They were like, it's too goddamn niche. But I'm so passionate about it because we are, without a doubt, we are the most time and energy poor people in the whole of our society. Mothers as a whole, right? But single mothers. And I just thought a lot of these books that I've read, and I've read every self-development book you can come across, it's all like wake up in the morning and journal and meditate for an hour, prioritize your exercise. And I'm thinking, these bitches ain't looking after their children, are they? Right? These men that are writing these books, they've got no clue. Not one of these books ever mentioned that you may have to take care of a child from the minute you wake up. Actually, who am I kidding? Not even from the minute you wake up. Before you woke up, you've probably been woken up in the night until, well, that loop goes on forever. Like not one book mentions it. And I just thought it was so interesting how so many women were being done a disservice, how we're reading these books that are saying, if you really want to thrive in life, you need to wake up an hour before the rest of your family. You need to journal, meditate, do all these things. And I just thought, this isn't possible for us. And we're feeling like failures.
100%. It's just more, exactly, more of than a reason to feel like a failure, because like, that's just one more thing that I can't do properly.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what I didn't want my book to be. I wanted it to be something that would not add anything more to your plate, but instead take the very real sort of realities of our lives and see if we can transform it into tools and techniques that can help you manifest your dreams. Because when I look back, right, I've been a manifester for like 15 years. And my most transformative time of manifesting, the time that you saw the most growth and change in my life, was at a time where I was single, I'd lost all my income, I had newborn twins that I had not bonded to and I was really struggling with. And we were in a lockdown, like my daughter wasn't at school. And so I started to think like, how is it that so many women, and I get so many women message me saying, oh my God, I love the law of attraction, it's working for me, but then my child fell ill, or then I got really busy at work or whatever. And it's always the same thing. It works, but I fell off the bandwagon and life took over. So yeah, that was my passion really, was just trying to share this with women and show them you can do it with your children. You can do it with all the things that we have to do.
So how can you do it and what can you do?
Well, because I've just mentioned that, you know, the biggest transformation in my life was when I had those newborn twins. That's kind of like the first point that I started thinking about was when we set our goals for ourselves. And I think lots of women will feel like this or lots of mothers, when we say like at the beginning of the year, right, what do you want to achieve in 2025? What do you want to do? I would always set goals for like all the different areas of my life. It would be like the fun and adventure, the travel, what country do I want to visit this year? Who do I want to date? All these things, right? And when I had those newborn twins, and not only were we in a national lockdown, but I was in my very own personal fucking lockdown, breastfeeding, where I could only breastfeed with a massive pillow. So I couldn't even like go out the house and breastfeed. It was a nightmare. It actually taught me something incredible. So as I looked at like what I could achieve that year, I suddenly realized, can I date this year realistically with 2 premature breastfeeding twins? No, absolutely not. Fucking forget it. It ain't happening. Can I go to festivals and get drunk with my friends? Can I travel and see new countries? Absolutely not. I couldn't travel anywhere. I didn't leave my county for months and months. And even like little limiting beliefs of, now I had 3 young children. How was I going to pay for flights for all these children? I didn't think I'd ever go on holiday again. there's little things like if you have twins, you actually have to have two adults to travel. You're not allowed to travel on an aeroplane with one adult and twins under, I believe it's two. So there were many, many blocks to me being able to simply have a holiday or travel anywhere. Can I go and make new friends? Can I do all these things? No, we're in a lockdown. There were so many things that were blocked from me. I was not able to manifest all of these things in all these different areas of my life. But what it did is it really narrowed down what I was able to manifest. And I feel like many women in many different areas and in different stages and eras of their motherhood will feel like so many avenues are blocked from them for just this stage, right? When we're in that stage, it feels like it's forever, but it is just this stage. And what I want to urge people to do is to think, what are the limitations actually gifting me right now?
Yeah.
So in my example, right, my life was so boring. I can't tell you how boring it was. Every day I woke up and I breastfed and then I changed nappies and then they went to sleep. And then I breastfed and then I changed nappies and they went to sleep. Daily for months. There was no shopping trips. There was no meeting your friends. There was nothing. I did nothing. I had no social life. I had nothing. But what it did do is I thought, how can I turn this time into something that is worthwhile? And I thought, I can become rich. That is the number one thing I can do, is I can make money. If I can work on my brand, on my podcast, if I can work on just this one thing, which is building this podcast and making money from it, the whole of my life, when this opens up, because these children will grow, these babies will grow, they will eventually be able to walk, they will eventually be able to go on a plane, I will eventually be able to date, I will be able to travel. The one thing that will make all that possible is money. That's all, right? It'll pay for childcare. It'll pay for freedom in so many ways. And so I just hunkered down and I hyper-focused on this one thing that would improve the rest of my life. And so setting goals for the season of your life, I would say, is something that a lot of mothers who feel like they don't have time, or, you know, this season of life isn't for me, I'm in service to others, this isn't for me, I would urge you to look at, how can this be an era where it might be forcing you into hyper-focusing on one thing?
Yeah, that's so good. I really resonate with that, actually. And I think about my own life and how sometimes I just feel, as much as I want to make certain things happen or add certain goals into what I'm looking to do in a year, I'm like, I am at capacity. I can only do X, Y. I know that I can only, focus on X, Y, and Z if I want to do those things well, or if I want to do those things and keep my mental health in check, or if I want to do those things and make sure that I'm being present as a mom. So it definitely, I think that's really valuable for us single parents, especially in knowing what's, even though we're talking about manifesting, it's knowing what's realistic as well. So I think that's very, very helpful.
But I think it gives you a little bit of your power back as well. I felt so powerless. So at the time when we were like in that lockdown and I had those newborns, I had this guy that was like local. He might have become a dick appointment. We don't know. And he came round and he made me feel so bad about myself. He's a lovely guy, but he was like, oh, lockdown's been amazing for me. We've just been having like parties all the time. And I was like, what? Like, you lot have been having parties. I've just been sat here with 3 young children by myself for months on end. And it made me feel so shit about myself. And I constantly compared my reality to my friends, to people I knew. And I really felt like I had the worst luck of them all. But I look back and I think, if I had been able to go out shopping, if I had been able to hang out with friends, if I had been able to date, if I had been able to do all these things, there's no way I would have hyper-focused on that one area of my life. And that, honestly, focusing on that one thing for a period of a year? That's all it was. A year absolutely transformed my whole life. It completely transformed everything. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I just would love for people to think about, is just like, you may feel trapped by your circumstances sometimes, but nothing lasts forever. And how can you make this era of your motherhood work for you. And it might not be money for some women, you know, it might not be that. It might be their health. It might be that if you are in this era of like mothering, nurturing, you know, this isn't your time to go out partying. This isn't your time to go and travel around the goddamn world, whatever it might be. How can this be an era that you really, really focus on your health and you hyper focus on that? So it will be different for everyone, but I think the principle still applies.
The following is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp. I want to talk about mental health for a minute. Being a single parent comes with its highs and lows, and as single parents, it's so important to make sure we look after ourselves in the process. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to BetterHelp, the online therapy service that's here to support you every step of the way. With BetterHelp, you can connect with registered therapists from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or just need someone to talk to, they're here to help. Plus, as a Frolo member, you get an exclusive 25% off your first month. Just visit betterhelp.com/Frolo. That's betterhelp.com/Frolo. So what area are you in hyper focus with at the moment?
At the moment, I am living and breathing my book, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I do feel, oh my God, it's honestly, it's nonstop, it's relentless, but it's also self-inflicted. But I do feel like as a mum, I just focus on what's next. And I don't have the luxury of being able to focus on all these different things. And sometimes it's literally day by day, hour by hour. I focus on like what literally is next. And one of my favorite things I always like to think is like, we're always juggling all these balls, but some are glass, some are plastic. The plastic balls can drop, and I drop them regularly. And it's learning to know, like the wisdom is learning which ones are plastic and which ones are glass. If your house is messy for a couple of days and people see it as messy, the world's not going to fucking end. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to end. If your fridge has run low and you're like, right, children, it's pizza tonight. Obviously, you don't be doing that every day, but it's not the end of the world. I think if we can learn the true prioritization of what is the most important thing right now, and let everything else fade into the background and drop, then that is how we can truly like move the needle and get ahead in our lives. So I like to think about life in sort of like 3-month increments. And at the moment, for me, this is my last summer before my children start school. And then they'll be spending half the holidays with their dad in the future, which is completely new to me. I've never done this with any of my children. It's like a big deal. So it's our last summer, but it's also just before my book comes out. So when I say to myself, and sometimes we don't realize how much we hold inside our own heads, you know, we've all sat there, we've been like, I should be dating more. I should be seeing my friends more. I should be looking into the menopause. I should be doing this strength training. We've got all these things in our minds. And sometimes for me, it's a case of saying, right, between now and September, during this summer period, all I give a shit about is quality time with my children, making memories and keeping them alive, and focusing on my book. Because this book coming out is a once in a, it's happening once. I can't redo it. And so it allows my brain just to free up all the rest of that stuff and just say, for now, these are the two things that are taking priority. And as the days and the weeks go on, you know, one day one will have more priority, another day others will. Zoe, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I'm missing my daughter's first day of school.
Oh.
Their first day of school is the day that my book comes out.
What are the chances?
Seriously, I'm going to be able to take them in the morning, but then I go to London for 2 days of book events. And I'm just like, can you imagine the mum guilt of that? Like, it's absolutely so. I can actually cry thinking about it.
No, that's hard. That is hard. I totally get it. I feel emotional for you thinking about that. That's so hard. But you're inspirational, and the fact that your kid's mom has created this opportunity for yourself, and you have a book coming out, and it's all about how you have created this life out of sheer vision and determination and trying to be the absolute best for yourself and your kids. Like that's a huge deal. And how inspiring for your kids. How
I
inspiring.
hope so. I hope it is.
Of course it is. And even if they don't fully, I'm sure they do, there's some recognition of that now, even already, but, that will just continue to build the more that they realize it. But you're able to drop, you're able to do the school drop off, which is great. And then you've got FaceTime and you can show them, you can give them an insight into what you're doing. But yeah, I feel for you. I really do.
Yeah, that is the reality of like a single mum struggle. Like,
Yeah.
that is it. And sometimes it boils down to just those really practical things where it's like you can't be in all the places all the times, and
Yeah.
you are going to miss things. I mean, are my children going to be emotionally scarred for the rest of their life if I'm not there on the second day of school and the pickup? Like, do you know, all I can do is put everything I can into place. I'm literally recruiting everyone. I'm recruiting family.
Yeah.
I'm recruiting a professional. I'm like, everyone's
Yeah.
going to be here.
But listen, there's so many people that will be listening to this episode who aren't able to do that because they're co-parenting and the other parent has them, and maybe it's not a situation where they get to. So you are definitely not the only one, and your kids will be absolutely fine. They know they are loved. They're going to be so proud of their mom, and that will. Yeah, I mean, you've got a bloody book out. I see it in the background there. It looks amazing.
This is my subliminal messaging.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Do you know my daughter went as me for World Book Day last year, and I was
Oh my God, my son did that.
Stop.
Well,
No.
he went. He didn't go as me. He went, because the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent that Rebecca Cox and I wrote. So he went. He saw it as a really great opportunity to go in his favorite clothes as himself, given that he was the inspiration behind Frolo, as he calls it, because of course I say that's which is true. But yeah, so it was funny for him. It was just, well, I'm going as myself because I'm taking your book for World Book Day. But that's so funny and that's so sweet.
Do you know what? I read a book recently that was saying like, it's about toxic productivity and burnout for women, and it was saying like a work-life balance is just bullshit, really. And if you're trying to balance something, you're never going to get ahead in any area. Like you're just going to be constantly feeling like you're walking a tightrope, but more like a work-life blend. And I really see it in my own life where there's certain time periods where my blend is massively in the work direction, and I will be, that week of that book launch, I'm on a book tour. I'm like Mick Jagger. I'm on tour. We've got tour t-shirts. I'm going to be drinking vodka every night.
That is so cool. Good for you. That's amazing. And you're so right. You do only get this opportunity once. And I have to say, if I was to go back to the time when we were doing it, I think both Rebecca and I say we wish that we'd put more into that part of it. So I think you're absolutely right. Give it your everything. Give your book the best shot to be noticed. Yeah.
But then it will also, that blend will go back the other way, because of that, I don't have to work a 9 to 5. I do get to pick my children up from school. Like, do you know what I mean? Like if we want to go and spend February half term on holiday together, we are going to be able to do that. So I think for guilt wise, that's something that's really helped me, is like forgetting this idea of like a balance and it always having to be perfect. My life is not balanced. There are times where I am just solidly children, and there's nothing else. And there's other times where work has to take the lead. And I feel like just kind of embracing that really helps me to sort of to do it all, really.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And again, I do think that is, we all role model in different ways to our kids, but I think there is a great lesson in that for kids, seeing your work ethic, seeing your vision, seeing you apply yourself, seeing you create something and make it happen, your perseverance, they will be able to learn from that. They will be able to take from that. And then, of course, they'll get like you giving absolutely every ounce of everything you have in your complete 100% mothering mode as well. So it's all valuable for them.
I hope so. And
It
I
is.
think as well, it's not just the outcome of the book, it's who you become in the process of writing it. So like the kind of person that I've had to become to have the, what's the word, like the determination to sit and write a book over many months and to work with a big publishing house. You know, I've never done this before. It's like my first rodeo, and to do all the stuff that it takes, along with all of the self-development stuff that comes along with it, right? Because you've got to walk the walk and talk the talk. You can't write a book about it and not do it yourself. And I often do think about that. Like, I'm not just raising children. Like, these little girls are going to be women one day, and they may be mothers as well. And I think when we talk about like, we want to give our children everything that we never had, I feel like for some reason, I always come up with like Adidas trousers. Like as a child, like I had the 2-stripe because we couldn't afford like the 3-stripe. And actually, I think so many people have got it wrong. Like, we're not trying to give our children what we didn't have in terms of material things. I want to give my daughters so much that I didn't have. Emotional regulation, healthy habits, healthy ways to live your life, healthy relationships, boundaries, like, and actually exercising boundaries, exercising self-love. So many of the things that I do are purely out of self-love because I value myself so much that I have to live my life in a certain way. And so, yeah, while you're in the trenches, it feels hard, but I hope that as they grow up, they will realize like, wow, we've gained all of this. But also, kids never listen to their mothers. So who fucking knows? They might not give a shit.
No, they will learn by, you know, seeing how you are and seeing your self-love onto them, seeing the way you treat yourself, seeing the way you prioritize your self-care, the way you try and, you know, with what you were saying about the balancing, all of that is so important. It's so important. Actually, one of the podcast episodes I recorded recently was with an amazing woman called Dr. Charlotte Ord, and she used to be a fitness expert on the Biggest Loser. Do you remember that show from back in the day? Yeah. So now she's a psychologist, and she's written a book about, you know, children's body image and how to be, you know, body positivity for children. But one of the points that she said in terms of how we as parents can best support our children in terms of having a good relationship with themselves is how we are to ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, how we, you know, instead of looking in the mirror and going, God, I look awful today. And I think that rings true of everything. And even which isn't needing to be perfect all the time or pretend that we feel perfect, but just they learn so much about how, you know, seeing how we show up.
Yeah, but also show up for yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like that is so important, whether you have boys or girls, but particularly girls, because I think, you know, there is still a mother load. There is still an unfair division of labour between mothers and fathers. And I think how you show up for yourself and how you treat yourself, you really do, you show others how to treat you. You teach others, don't you, how to treat you.
Totally.
And I've seen that with my own daughters. I have not been blessed with co-parents who birthdays, Mother's Day, Christmas, Zoe, there ain't a card. There's not a card. There's not a present. There's nothing. And for a few years, I let that get me down. And my youngest daughter, Laveau, who I named after the Voodoo Queen, and she's very witchy, she's very emotionally intelligent. She said to me it was only about 18 months ago now, so she would have been like 3. She's like, why do you never get any birthday presents? Why do you not get a Christmas present? And I was like, God damn it. She's right, I don't, because, you know, I'm 40 years old. You know, I don't really want presents from my family. Friends don't really do presents anymore. And I made a decision then to buy myself a present and celebrate. It was more about the celebration rather than the purchase, But to celebrate myself, whether it was Mother's Day, Christmas, birthday, and I would get something gift wrapped and I would open it and be like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like, look what I've got. And they'd be like, who's it from? And I'd be like, it's from me, bitch. It's from me. It's from me to me. Thank you. And I would literally write a gift card that would say, thank you for giving me the most incredible life. I'm so grateful for everything you do.
Wow.
And something magical happened, right? My eldest daughter, she's nearly 9. She ain't never done nothing for me before. Like, she didn't really make cards, presents. From that year on, when I started doing that for myself, all 3 of my daughters started celebrating Mother's Day, birthday and Christmas like I was the Messiah.
Well, there you go.
I would literally come downstairs. They had set up a whole hospital bed on the floor made out of all these pillows and cushions. There would be a glass of rosé at 9 a.m. They would set out a breakfast. They would create so much ceremony around each. I mean, they haven't got any money to spend. You know what I mean? They couldn't buy me anything. And they would create so much. And I thought, wow, that is a really good example of teach other people, including your children, how you deserve to be treated by treating yourself like it first.
That is amazing. Right.
Yeah.
I am going to take a leaf out of your book. I'm going to test this theory in my own household. I love it. It's so good. And it's such a
think you can't teach, but you can't tell people how to treat you, especially kids. They're not going to listen, but they watch everything. And they watched me celebrate myself. And yeah, it's taken a year. And now they create the most beautiful birthdays for me. It's amazing.
That is beautiful. And thinking then about, you said that you're not, actively dating at the moment, and you have, obviously you're focusing on your book. But when you are, if you do decide to go back out there and put some kind of time and energy into dating, how has your perspective on dating changed, or, the person that you're looking to date? Because it sounds like you've evolved so much as a person, and even your relationship to yourself and, the self-love. So does that mean that there's a certain, how are your standards with dating? Do you think that reflects in what you're looking for?
I just would rather die than go on a date. That's honestly how I feel at the moment. I just have absolutely. And do you know what? There's a few people that had said to me, oh, you just have got limiting beliefs around it. You've not done enough work around it yet. You've not released the blocks. Like, you're still blocking yourself from love. And I've spoken to Paul Brunson, everyone's favorite love guru, so many times. And he's like, you're ready for love because you just don't care. And I've kind of come to the conclusion now of like, what if it's all a scam? Like, what if I really have done the work and actually my life won't be made better by having a straight man in my house? What if that is, and that's controversial to say, but what if that is genuinely a possibility, that actually my life, having a fulfilling career and time for friends, I mean, God damn it, there's not even enough time for me to have quality time with my children one-on-one. What if having a full life with family and friends and a career you love and keeping fit and enjoying your home environment and all of those things, what if that is enough? And what if that is the peak of your life? Like, and I genuinely, like, of course, do you know what? I've got a very strong feeling, I've always had this, that I'm going to meet the love of my life when I'm 50 years old. And I feel like my children will just be going to university and stuff, or like leaving, they'll be independent. And I'll meet this man, and I don't know why, but we're going to go to India. I've always felt it like deep in my soul. And so I don't give a second's thought to dating. I just don't. I think we've been scammed into thinking that that's the answer. And actually, I think the answer is us. We're the answer.
I fully agree with you. I really do. And I just think there is, we have been conditioned completely to almost feel like the be all and end all is, starts and ends with being in a relationship. What a gift to be at a point in life where we get fulfillment out of our work, our kids, our relationship with ourselves, our friendships, all the, creating the life that we want and being in the driving seat of that. And I'm sure many people listening to this podcast will feel, the same, in that there's nothing worse than being there's lots of bad things that but being in the wrong relationship is an awful place to be in. It's so kind of, that kind of stressed out, trapped feeling of being in the wrong relationship. So I think it's really lovely to celebrate being free and happy and embracing that, and being able to sleep starfish in a bed if you want, and to get up at whatever, probably not get up at whatever time you want, given that we're, single parents, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I just think as well, it's incredibly hard to find somebody that you can get along with and live well with. I tried that as a young single woman in my maiden era, and I found that hard. Can you imagine now trying to find someone who not only gets along well with me, but also the souls of my 3 daughters? Like, I just don't think it's my era for that. I have no desire for it. I am in a loving relationship with my daughters. They need my attention and energy right now. And look, if someone comes along tomorrow, hello, I will not be closed down to it. But I'm genuinely I do think it's all a big scam. I do think that women are being made to think that they need to be in a relationship. And actually, we are perfectly fine on our own. We don't need your counter signature now to get our own mortgage. We can have our own credit cards. We can run our own businesses. And that's the thing we forget. It wasn't that long ago that wasn't a possibility. Within our parents' generation, that was not a possibility for many of them. And so it's the new world. Let's live our goddamn lives. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. What would you say to someone who feels like they keep getting stuck in the same pattern? So whether that be someone who really does want a relationship or feel ready to kind of embark on that again, and feels like they are clear about what they don't want and what they do want, but they keep getting stuck in the same cycle, whether it's relationships or whether it's, a trap with, difficult kind of finances, or, is there any thoughts on how people can get themselves out of being locked into the same pattern?
I think that if you are genuinely clear on what you want, and it is definitely what you want, but you find yourself constantly just trapped in a cycle and a rut of just repeating the same things and getting the same results, this comes down to like something that's very like very, very functional, very, very like real in the world, like not airy fairy, but very real. There's a great quote, and I'm going to completely murder it. This isn't it, but basically we don't rise to our expectations. We fall to the level of our habits. It's not that, but you get the gist. And part of the book is actually talking about how for mothers, our homes, our home environment becomes a big part of our lives. If you think about it, like when you were like a young childless woman, you might go back to your flat to like sleep or get a takeaway delivered to, but we weren't spending all our time there. Now, especially since coronavirus, a lot of us are working from home. We're entertaining at home. We're socializing at home. It's where we're raising our children. We're doing so much within our home. And if you are finding yourself in a repetitive cycle, in a loop, you need to look at your environment and see, what is my environment doing to me when I am trying to achieve goals? Is my home a sanctuary or a place that's going to help support me in reaching those goals? Or is it actually a source of stress? Something that when I wake up in the morning, from the minute I open my eyes, there's things that are stressing me out or causing friction on the way to achieving whatever goal it might be. And so it sounds very simplistic and very surface level, but look, we all fall off whatever bandwagon we're on regularly, right? I know I do. And I often find that when I am repeating a cycle or I'm feeling stuck or in a rut, it's often the simplest things that get me back onto it. So it's like, how am I treating myself? Have I been Do you know my first thing I always do? I go back to, have I been taking my supplements? I've got a goddamn autoimmune disease, and you would not believe there are times where I become so overwhelmed that I just stop taking my medication for it. That leads down one road, and that is to a massive flare-up that causes me loads of pain. I know this is going to happen, and yet sometimes everything just starts crumbling. All my little mini habits that I incorporate into my daily life. And so if I want to make a meaningful change in my life, and I want to stop repeating that cycle of whatever it is that I've been doing, I start to look at little tiny things in my everyday life. How am I waking up in the morning? Am I taking a moment? And it literally takes a moment. Every morning I look outside my bathroom window and I look at the sun rising, and I just say to myself, like, what do I need today? And every day the answer is different. Sometimes it's connection, sometimes it's productivity, sometimes it's rest. But just connecting with myself for that one moment and just saying, what do I need to do? And then living my life intentionally to see the results that you want, to see the results that you want in your life. And so that is the place that I always start, is my home environment, because it affects me massively. If you have a goal that you want to massively improve your health, if you want to have an absolute glow up, if you want to transform your physical appearance and focus on longevity or your health or whatever, is your home supporting you in that? Is your home setting you up to fail at every moment? Have you got the Deliveroo app open on your phone? Are your cupboards filled with unhealthy snacks? Is your kitchen cluttered and not a place that makes you want to experiment with new recipes, with new ideas, with healthy cooking? In your sitting room, is your TV just the focal point? And then when you come down after you put the kids to bed, it just makes the most sense to just sit there and watch TV. How is your home environment shaping your behavior and how you feel about your life? So does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And I'm just doing a bit of scan in my mind over what I can. Yeah, I think it's a really good exercise, actually. And I love that thought in the morning of, what do I need to do for myself today? What do I need today? Because as we discussed at the beginning of this conversation, it's not realistic for us to take 20 minutes out to meditate and then do a yoga session and do some journaling in the morning, but just a simple check-in, self-check-in, that just takes a minute, but kind of centers you, and, where you can really tune in with yourself.
An actual chapter in the book is exactly about that, about how, as mothers, if you tell me to sit down for half an hour and meditate, I'm like, I have not got time for that shit. I genuinely do not have time. I've got so many other things on, but I've got good news. Did you know that there are several household tasks that will actually qualify rather as meditation? I'm talking loading the dishwasher. I'm talking hanging up wet clothes, folding laundry, hoovering, all of these things. And again, sometimes I feel silly talking about these things, because I feel like when people talk about manifestation, they talk about such like, open yourself up to the portal. And I'm just here back on the ground being like, for mothers though, the reality is, I can't open my portal. I ain't got time. Yeah. I literally have a pile of laundry. No one's got clothes in their wardrobes. Like, this stuff needs to be done. And so I discovered this idea of like the cognitive break, right? Which is that we all have this, where because of social media, we are experiencing so much information overload. We are constantly having information all the time coming in. And we do it to ourselves too. How many of us say, right, I'm going to have a relaxing bath. And then we're like, oh, but let me listen to a podcast so I can learn something at the same time. Or, while I'm doing this, I'm going to voice note my friend. We all do it. I used to do it all the time. And I learned that certain tasks can serve as a cognitive break. So if you do something with your hands physically, but it doesn't engage your brain, it is literally better for you than sleep.
Wow.
It's literally like meditation. It's better for you than actually taking a nap, having a sleep. It's doing something physical that is very low. You don't need to use your brain for folding laundry or loading the dishwasher. So for me, it's just a mindset shift, right? I've got to do that shit, whether I hate it or I don't resent it. Instead, I see it as a self-care task.
Yeah.
Now, I know that this is a stretch, and there'll be people listening that are saying, Doing the housework is not self-care. This is a two-pronged approach, right? Number one, like I said, this acts as a cognitive break. So instead of thinking, oh God, I've got to put all the laundry away, I've got to load the dishwasher, I've got to clean the floors. Instead, you see it as, this is an opportunity, number one, for movement. French women who are considered, the most chic, the most fit around the world, they're timeless, they're classic. They actually don't drive to the gym. They don't do that. They use the stairs. They take the stairs instead of a lift. They will manually mop their floor instead of using a robotic vacuum. They incorporate exercise into their everyday life. So number one, how lucky am I? I'm getting to use my body and movement and not be sedentary. Number two, it is a cognitive break. This is my version of meditation. I am not going to listen to a podcast. I'm not going to voice note my friend. I'm simply going to perform this task, and it is going to do so much for my creativity, for my brain space, for my bandwidth. But number two, and this really is a stretch, but bear with me because it helps for me. I consider, now, if you are a single mother and you feel very unsupported, you feel like you're doing everything, I sometimes think of myself as my own butler. So it's me, right? I am the butler. It's me. I'm the butler for myself. Now, when I'm performing these tasks, whether it's food shopping or whatever, I think, wow, Francesca really deserves for me to go to Tesco and meal plan and choose fresh produce and take a little bit of time to plan the meals out and make sure she's getting nutrition. She deserves that. She also deserves clean clothes in her wardrobe that are all organized. She also deserves a nice clean kitchen to work in and create beautiful meals. She also deserves, when she sits down to dinner, to maybe have a candle lit and to have some soft music playing and some nice lighting. So instead of feeling like, I'm so unsupported, I'm doing all this stuff, because let's be honest, today, whether people feel like that or not, all of a sudden tomorrow, a butler's not going to come in and do all this shit for you. We're still going to have to do it. You can feel about it a completely different way. You can feel like you're doing these tasks as a form of self-care so that you get to live in a beautiful home, so you get to live an easy life. That's another thing, doing things for your future self. I'm a big fan of that. Like, what can I do to make future Francesca's life so much easier?
I love that.
But it's also a meditation. You're meditating, bitch. You're literally putting your dishes away and you're meditating. What's not to love?
A genius rebrand of housework. I love it.
Right?
I love it.
Until we get equality and men start pulling their weight, this is what we've got to do.
Yeah, no, but it's brilliant. And I notice a lot of what you've mentioned and how you speak is, you are putting an empowering slant on things. And so my question is, like, how important is it to lean into that and to lean into gratitude, or to lean in feeling empowered versus feeling like a victim?
Oh, do you know what? It has become my superpower, is finding the positive in everything. And actually something that I'm so passionate about, and no one ever lets me talk about it because I don't ever talk to like single parent people, but this is my time and space, is that another thing I think is a scam is time, right? How many of us have got really upset because we can't spend Christmas Day with our child? It's not my year. It's not my turn. My ex-husband insists on having my daughter for half of her birthday every year. So it means we can't ever do anything on her birthday because the day's cut in half. I have realised at the grand old age of 40 that time doesn't exist. It's bullshit. Dates don't exist. Like, when it comes to Christmas, number one, do you really believe that Jesus was born on that day? If you do, okay, fair play. But why do you need to celebrate on the 25th of December? Since I have released myself from the shackles of that, I'm fucking living life. Because let's be honest, we were just talking about, your question was, which I've kind of forgotten now, but was like, how can you empower yourself in times when you feel disempowered, right? Whether I like it or not, I have to do all the housework. That's my reality as a single mum. So I can either feel empowered about it and use it as a manifesting tool, or I can sit and bitch about it. The same with co-parenting. I can either say it's not fair. My children should always be at home with their mother at Christmas and at birthdays. This is my right. Or I can simply, and it was honestly like cutting a string and just saying, doesn't matter. My daughters have not celebrated their birthday on their actual birthday their whole lives pretty much. And it doesn't make a blind bit of difference. I see people, my friend Susie, I always use her as an excuse, but she's always like, oh no, I've got to try and cram all of the Christmas into like 3 hours in the morning. And I'm like, girl, you're smoking crack. Why are you trying to cram that into 3 hours? You do realize you can have Christmas on whatever day is good for you. You have to stick to it though. You have to really go all in. So that is, sorry, I feel like that didn't actually answer your question, but that is something that's really empowered me, is if someone is saying to you, I want the child on their birthday, I want them on Christmas, you have the power to say, actually, this means nothing to me. This means nothing to me. I can choose a day and I can celebrate big when I want.
Yeah, no, it does. It is totally relevant to the question, because I think it's, again, that realizing that we have the ability to completely think outside the constraints of what we've been conditioned to think about so many different things, which is definitely empowering. And I think it's a super relevant example, especially given that everyone listening to this is going to be a single parent who will be able to relate to that Christmas Day and birthday piece as well. Those of us who are co-parenting.
I really hope there is at least one person listening who always got their knickers in a twist about like, oh, it's not my year this year, I've got to share. Because I genuinely used to think, do you know, the first year it ever happened to me, I spent the whole day crying. It was awful. We woke up on Christmas morning. Only one of my 3 daughters was there opening her presents on her own, like an only child. She went off to her dad's, and I spent the whole day on the phone to my friend Polly, just crying. And I was like, I'm never doing that again. I'm never having one child having Christmas. Like it was shit. And so I just changed it. And there's so many little mindset shifts like that can completely transform your world. And on the outside, it doesn't really look like anything's changed, right? Your co-parent hasn't suddenly agreed to more lenient terms. You haven't suddenly gained more favor. You haven't even gained more days. But the way that you think about it, one thing I never get is like, when people I understand, right? It's no one wants to spend time away from their child. But I feel like, and I don't want to shout this too loudly because I don't want people to cotton on, but being a single mum is the fucking best thing ever. My married friends that are like, I'd give anything for a child-free weekend. I'd give anything for some me time. I'm like, get divorced, love. Get divorced and you will have a couple of weekends a month to yourself. You will have the time of your life. There's 2 bands of people that are like, I need, this is so overwhelming. I need some time. And of course, there's people that don't get any time, like without children, which hats off to you. I don't know how the hell you do that. I would die actually. But either you can use that time. If you don't know what to do with that, with yourself in that time, you can use that time to rediscover yourself, your passions, what you want to do, socialize. And that in turn will make you a better mother. I truly believe that. You've seen that thing on Instagram that's like the number one indicator for whether a child will thrive is the quality of their mother's happiness. And I wholeheartedly believe that. So if you find it hard doing things for yourself, whether that's working on your business, working on your fitness, socializing, if you find it hard to do that for yourself, do it for your child, because you are going to be a better mum because of it. But also, my friend Louise Pentland gave me this amazing piece of advice. Say you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't want the free time to yourself, right? And you hate your children leaving your home. She said to me that you are, I'm going to cry again. She said, you're able to mother when your children aren't there. So when you get that urge to mother your child and your child is not in the home, guess what? You can still mother. She's like, you can go into their room and you can completely tidy it all up and you can set out a game that you never have time to do. It could be a puzzle. It could be, getting the Barbie house out, but putting all the clothes on the Barbies and getting them all set out. So when that child comes home, you're like, right, I've had my break and I'm ready to play this with you. She said you could get all the things you need to do a certain craft. You could declutter their wardrobe so it's just the clothes that fit them. There are so many ways that you can mother your child without them being there. And again, that was something that I was just like, that's a real practical thing, isn't it? To again, empower you. It's a mindset shift. I don't think any single mother needs to be sitting there being depressed when their children aren't there. There's so many things you can do to improve your life or to mother when you're not there.
I love that. And my son is away for 2 weeks at the moment. This is the longest stint that I have without him in the year. And that's a really lovely way of looking at it, that I can, there's things I can do while he's not here, which I do. But I love I love that take on it, that I'm still
Yeah.
mothering him.
You're just doing it from afar.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, Fran, you're going to set me off now as well.
I could cry all day.
Well, look, it has been as always, just such a lovely, valuable, important, conversation. Thank you for all of your nuggets of wisdom. I've taken so many from our conversation, and I know anyone listening will have also. And thank you for writing your book, Manifesting Like a Mother. And I'm so excited for it to be out there in the world. And huge congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I will send you a copy.
Yeah, I would love that. I will.
It's out on the 4th of September. Do you know what? This was intentional. We wanted to do it when the kids were back at school. So after you've had the craziness of the summer holidays, it's like, right, back to school. And now let me focus on me and what kind of life do I want to create?
Yeah, perfect timing. I always think of that as in September. It's like almost a new start to the year. Getting back,
it is, isn't it?
Getting back in the zone. Yeah, or getting in the zone. But so where can people find you?
So I'm most prolific over on Instagram, trying to make reels, trying to keep up with the algorithm. So I'm at Francesca Amber on Instagram, or you can find me at francescaamber.com. And you can find the book everywhere. You can get this book everywhere. Just check it out. Manifest Like a Mother. And I'm also doing a book tour. So if you want to come, I'm in London, Dublin, Manchester,
Amazing.
Liverpool. If you want to come see me, let's do it. We're having a night of conversation about parenting and mothering. Yeah, you'll love it.
So cool. How do people find out about your book tour dates? On your website, I assume?
On my website or on Instagram. Yeah, I've plastered them everywhere. So
amazing, Francesca. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck with your book. I know you are gonna, I know it's going to be hugely helpful to people. And I can't wait to see you continue to fly.
Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you do for single mums. Because honestly, when I first met you, I remember being like, I'm going to cry again. Yes, I'm just very grateful. Like, we're very underrepresented and there's still, stigma and so many hardships. Like we're joking in this book about, making all of the housework and everything, like trying to make it into like meditations and stuff. But that is the sort of shit that single mums are having to do to create space in their life, to create the life that they want. And it's very real. Like the amount we have on our shoulders is very real. And I just want this book to help women and not to add anything to their plate, but to transform what is on it, basically.
Well, for the way this conversation has been and everything you have shared, there are so many empowering, practical takeaways. So I'm sure that the book is full of them. So I'm certain that it's going to make a difference to a lot of single moms' lives, and then by that, the kids that they're supporting. So that's a really big deal. And thank you. And there is no one more inspiring than, seeing a single parent like just work through it and thrive and, go for it. So that's why I love these conversations. I find it so inspiring seeing you do your thing, and it's cool, really cool. Well, listen, I'm cheering for you, sister, and really looking forward to reading your book.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening to another episode of the Frolo podcast. And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frolo podcast and give us a rating and review? This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frolo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frolo.com or follow us on Instagram at Frolo app. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.